Good morning, everyone. I'm Joyce Madsen, and I'm your companion coordinator this morning because we have a guest speaker. So anyway, glad to see you here in this incredibly hot Sunday morning, and we have the fun of smoke on top of it. So hey, and a welcome to those of you online as well. This is a place where everyone is welcome. Doesn't matter how old or how young you are, what kind of body shape you have. It doesn't matter the color of your skin or your style of learning, your faith, whatever it might be or not. On just wherever you are on your journey to discovering who you are welcome to be with us as we spend some time together this morning. We're going to begin by lighting our candle. And I have to say, because I get to do this, every time I light a candle at this time, whether I'm at home or part of the community here, I am reminded of this community and the kind of support and love that it provides. It also reminds me that I'm connected to the rest of the world, and often my words of prayer are for those who are suffering so much because of human behavior. So let us celebrate that we have a safe place to be and work together. Going to sing?
May this time deepen our resolve to live in ways that build the world we want tomorrow. May this time inspire us to act, to live the words we pray, to learn and grow in the shortness of our time. Each act of love a wonder sublime. May this time deepen our resolve to seek the light and help its brilliance glow. May this time deepen our resolve to live in ways that build the world we want tomorrow. May this time inspire us to act, to live the words we say, to learn and grow in the shortness of our time. Each act of love a wonder sublime. May this time deepen our resolve to seek the light and help its brilliance glow. We will help love's brilliance grow.
As we do when we come together in this place on a regular basis, we remind ourselves that we are located within Treaty 6 territory and within the Métis homelands and the Métis Nation of Alberta Region 4. We acknowledge this land as the traditional territories of many First Nations, such as the Nehiyawah, the Cree, the Dene Sulin, which is the Dene, the Nakota Sioux, the Stoney, the Anishinaabe, the Saulteaux, and Niitsitapi, the Blackfoot. We pay our respects to these nations and reaffirm our relationships with one another.
You don't have to put up your hand, but I was kind of hoping we might all sense that about ourselves. And I was wondering how the children would respond too. You know, we are all special, all wonderfully special in so many different ways. And that's what our story is about this morning. Harold loves his woolly hat. And you'll see that there's just one name here, Vern Kauschke, and that means he both wrote the story and drew all the pictures. So this is a wonderful book, and I think that, well, he lives in Berlin, Germany, but you can see there's something on the jacket, there's something inside we're going to look at, something on the back, there's pictures and drawings on every page and words. So let's imagine that Vern Kauschke is right here with us this morning too. And he has a great imagination. So this is Harold. I'll just show you. I don't think anybody else is going to see this. I'll get to the first page in a bit. So this is Harold, and you'll notice his nice woolly hat. Yes, we see Harold, and we see him there too. He wears it all the time. And Harold loves that hat. Now, we in this part of the world, we have another name for these woolly hats often, don't we? We often call them toques, don't we? So, but this hat is what makes Harold feel special. But the plot thickens. See that little creature in this inside jacket cover, Serenity? It's a crow, as this author depicts the crow. But someone else loves the woolly hat, too. Ooh. Now, I was assuming, because but you can remember back to grandmas who knit for you. I'm assuming that Grandma Bear knit this woolly hat. And you'll see it has beautiful red and orange and golden stripes, with a pom-pom, of course, on the end. Well, finally, we'll get to the first page. So Harold loves to wear his woolly hat. And I think he's made all these snow people because they all have woolly hats And he's done some special designing to make those hats just look so gorgeous, all in white and black. Well, but Harold likes to wear his hat even in the summertime. He wears it when he goes to school. Now, did any of us go to school and ever be able to sit on a log? I thought that would have been really neat. One little cub sibling or friend is having a little snooze. He wears it when he goes to sleep. And Harold even wears his woolly hat when he takes his monthly bath. So, wow, once a month. But he finds a little pond, a little river, a little brook, and he has his monthly bath. So that's what we're beginning to know about Harold. Now, here's all sorts of friends and maybe brothers and sisters and others. Well, when Harold wears his woolly hat, he knows he's a special bear, and you can see no one else is wearing a hat. And he says, I'm different from all other bears when I wear my hat. That's interesting. And then one day, a crow swoops down and steals Harold's woolly hat. Oh, now I look just like all the other bears, thinks Harold. How will anyone know that I am a very special bear? Okay, but Harold has a plan. He has to win back his woolly hat. So he gathers some wriggly worms and he says to the crow, "Let's trade." So the crow swoops down and takes the worms and flies them to its nest. "Now please, give me back my woolly hat," shouts Harold. Uh-oh. But the crow only replies, "Caw-caw, caw-caw." And you can see a little bit of the woolly hat sticking out of the nest. Now, I was going to get the children to say caw with me all morning. Isn't it just one of the best words to say? Aggravating when you hear it too much, but really a great word. So Harold tries to make another trade. "Here are some tasty blueberries for you." Oh, the crow swoops down and takes the berries and flies them to its nest. "Now please give me my woolly hat." Again, the crow just replies, "Caw-caw, caw-caw." Wow, these are great kids today. You know, you want to tap into the child in you this morning? Okay, we'll do all the, here we go with another one. What a greedy little crow growls. "Harold, I'll never win back my woolly hat." And then he remembers his secret collection of shiny things. Now, did you know that crows love shiny things? They love picking up little pieces of shiny paper, little jewels, little things left on the sidewalks and in the parks. So he thinks he's finally got the right trade. "Here you go, you mean old crow." I think he says that under his breath. "I've got the perfect trade for you." And the crow swoops down and he takes the things and he flies them to its nest. You can see at the top of that tree, there's a little bit of the woolly hat showing. And you can see there's a silver whistle and jewelry, a beautiful set of keys, old keys. Well, now in the next page, I think Harold has a meltdown, which is good for adults to think a little bit about too. We all have them. "You now will give me back my woolly hat." And he does not look pleased, does he? He's just annoyed beyond measure. And once more, the crow only replies, "Caw-caw, caw-caw." Well, there's just one thing left for Harold to do. What do you think? He hides behind a rock and he waits until the crow flies away. And then he sneaks over to the tree and climbs up, up, up to the tippy top. So there he goes. It's a long way up. What do you think? Do you have an idea? Let's turn the page. 3 baby crows. Oh my. Sleepy, fuzzy. And he sees their nest home, and he sees his fuzzy, furry hat, their blankie. Oh my. What's he gonna do? So Harold, I think, will be there quietly for quite a while. And he tucks the crows in gently and tightly, and then he quietly climbs down from the nest. Okay. And then I think quite a bit of time goes on. So later on, maybe a few weeks later, Harold's been thinking a lot about his missing woolly hat, but he says that this one day he's out getting a honey treat. He says, even without my woolly hat, he whispers to himself, I'm still a very special bear. And you'll see that he's taken the honey treat to the crow and the little ones. He says, I'm a very special bear. I'm a helpful bear named Harold. I don't know, can you see the mother crow smiling a bit? Sure she is. Now, in the last picture, Harold's been invited to a very special day. The crows are taking flight. Maybe they've tried it before, but this day they're going to probably succeed. And it seems like Harold and the mother crow have become good friends. Like they definitely look like they are enjoying each other's company. Now the hat is still up in the nest, and Harold doesn't seem to be noticing it very much. Of course, he could climb up the tree, and the crow is sitting beside him. And there is how the author decided to end the story. The story about a bear, a woolly hat, and I think they should say on the back, and a crow family, and what it means to be truly special. Well, in this book, Harold does a lot of thinking, really, behind the words about what it means to be special. And the more I read it in preparation for today, the more I thought there's way more here than I first saw or thought. Because I'm not sure, is this book and this story about being special? Or is it about being different? Is it about being kind? Is it about making friends in unexpected places? It's a wonderful story to get us thinking. Because being special is something we have to be careful about, isn't it? How we think of ourselves as special. We want to have self-love for ourselves, and we are, each of us, uniquely and wonderfully special. But I think the big message I finally got was thinking myself as special, then I need to see everybody else as special. And when we all see each other as special, that's when we might start getting along. Yeah. So thank you, Serenity. Do you want to take the book and take a look at it? No, we'll leave it here. Thank you. There are some activity things at the back, but I know that you know your way around here, Serenity. Thanks, everybody. Oh, yes, Kaka. I didn't know I had my best kids here beside me.
along the world I go. One more step along the world I go. From the old things to the new, I'll keep traveling in the Spirit true. And it's from the old I travel to the new. I'll keep traveling in the Spirit true. I'll need courage in the world I turn. I'll need courage in the world I learn. All the new things that I see, I'll be sharing with the family. And it's from the old I travel to the new. I'll keep traveling in the Spirit true. I'll need courage when the world is rough. I'll need loving when the world is tough. Leap and singing all I do. I'll keep traveling in the Spirit true. And it's from the old I travel to the new. I'll keep traveling in the Spirit true.
So it's time for any announcements that folks have. I do know that there's a table set up in the back to buy your tickets for September 7th for the concert that will support our refugee families. So if you haven't done so already, put it in your calendar and buy your tickets so the folks know exactly what's evolving around that. Anything else? Life is quiet? Pardon me? Yeah, September the 5th. Okay, thank you. I knew it was early September, and it is in my calendar, but I haven't bought my tickets yet, so we'll get on that. Well, let me, oh, Kim has it. Good. Go for it.
Hi, it's Kim. Last night, there was an event in this space and downstairs and the lounge and the small hall called the Grief Carnival. And it was co-hosted by our Amberwood people, Jude and Fergus, and Sam Bruce, who owns a business called Silocycle. And there was a woman by the name of Dorje, who's a shaman, and Kate, who is a singer, a piano player that does early childhood education, and is there somebody else I'm missing? Maybe not. Anyway, there was, I wasn't sure what it would entail, and it was the most amazing event I've ever experienced here in this church building. There was 26 individuals, including the leaders, and there was different stations set up of how we could engage with our grief. And as human beings, we all share that quality. We all grieve. And it was lovely to hear young people say that they felt safe to express grief in community, because we don't get to do that very often. And just to be with it and engage with grief. And because we don't get to do that, sometimes it gets stuck in our bodies, and then it gets concretized, and then there's behaviors that aren't that healthy around it. So we want to keep the energy flowing, and that's exactly what happened last night. The energy just flowed in here, and it was a delightful, delightful experience. And I hope they have more in the future, and I would invite people to try it out. It was really quite incredible. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Kim. Good to know exactly what was going on. Our first wisdom reading this morning is from Andrew King, who's a local poet. It's called The Table with No Edges. We will sit down where feet tire from the journey. We will sit down where grief bends the back. We will sit down under roofs wrecked by artillery. We will sit down where cries sound from cracked walls. We will sit down where heat beats like hammers. We will sit down where flesh shivers in cold. We will sit down where bread bakes on thin charcoal. We will sit down where there is no grain in baked fields. We will sit down with those who dwell in ashes. We will sit down in shadow and in light. We will sit down making friends out of strangers. We will sit down, our cup filled with new wine. We will sit down and let love flow like language. We will sit down where speech needs no words. We will sit together at the table with no edges. We will sit to share one meal in one world. These are the words of a Canadian poet. May we find wisdom for our
May we find wisdom meant for living, found in the wonder of song and story. May we find wisdom, deep living wisdom, within the reach of our own thought and word and breath. May we find wisdom meant for our living, found in the wonder of song and story. May we find wisdom, deep living wisdom, within the reach of our own thought and word and breath.
Our scripture reading is from Romans 14. We're quite certain, scholars are quite certain, that Paul, the apostle, actually wrote Romans. It's quite a marvelous piece of work because it contains a mini summary of the Sermon on the Mount. We know for certain that Paul did not write 3 of the Gospels attributed, of the letters attributed to him, because they contradict what he says in some of the others. And there's a few that are here, there, or there. So, Romans 14, selected verses. Welcome with those with open arms, those who don't see things the way you do, and don't jump all over them every time they do or say something that you don't agree with. Remember, they have their own history to deal with. Treat them gently. For instance, a person at a dinner party might well be convinced that they can eat anything on the table, while another with a different background might assume they should be a vegetarian and eat accordingly. But since both are guests at the same table, wouldn't it be terribly rude if they fell to criticizing what the others ate or didn't eat. After all have both been invited to the table. Do you have any business crossing people off the guest list or interfering with their welcome? Or say one person thinks that some days should be set aside as holy, and another thinks that each day is pretty much like every other. There are good reasons either way, so each person is free to follow their convictions. What's important in all this is that if you keep a holy day, keep it to honor your tradition. If you eat meat, eat it and praise the prime rib. If you're vegetarian, eat vegetables for the joy of it and bless that broccoli. Forget about deciding what's right for each other. Instead, be concerned about this, that you don't get in the way of someone else, making life more difficult for them than it already is. Everything and everyone is honored just as is. We, of course, by the way, we treat it or talk about it. The way we do that can contaminate it, so be careful. Cultivate your own faithfulness, your own rituals, your own spirituality, but don't impose them on others. You're fortunate if your behavior and your belief are coherent, but if you're not sure, if you notice that you are acting in some ways inconsistent with your convictions, some days trying to impose your opinions on others, other days just trying to please them, then you know that you are out of balance. If your inner values and your outer actions aren't consistent, then how can you be honorable? This is writing from the Christian tradition. May we find wisdom for our living.
Thank you, Janice. I'm really pleased this morning to be able to introduce to you Joshua Richards, who is going to share some of the story of what's happening at CHU with us. He is the operational manager at CHU, and there are exciting and new things happening with that program, and so we're going to find out what they all are. Many of you might remember back in 2019, pre-COVID, that we had a strong relationship with the founding of that organization. And the acronym actually stands for Community, Health, Empowerment, and Wellness, CHU. It's an organization that operates a drop-in center for vulnerable LGBTQ2S+ youth. And we know that's a strong need that continues in our community. So please welcome Joshua to share with us this morning.
Good morning, everyone. I am a little bit of a nervous public speaker, so thank you for your patience beforehand. Like previously talked about, I am the operational manager for the CHU program. I have been in this position for about 3 months as there's been a little bit of a transition, but before I jump in to speak about our programming, I'd just like to give a little bit about myself to introduce myself. So I have grown up and lived in the city of Edmonton for the majority of my life, except for when I went out to Lac La Biche to pursue a career in social work. In 2020, I did become a registered social worker with the College of Social Workers, predominantly focusing in the child welfare system, specifically with youth transitioning into adulthood. And so I had the pleasure of working with many different people across many different cultural backgrounds, but I find working with vulnerable youth to be something that I'm very passionate about. I got involved with the CHU program back on April 1st in a transition state for the program. And so previously, over the past 10 years, CHU has been under development through the Firefly Institute. The Firefly Institute is a branch of the University of Alberta focusing on the 2S LGBTQ+ community and the research around that. One of their research programs really identified a need for programming and supports for the queer community. And so rather than being unethical and doing the research and not having any outcomes from that, they decided to jump in, do the frontline work, and really support our youth where they need. To give kind of a little context about the need currently in Edmonton, back in 2020, we did at Boyle Street Community Services, we did do a research kind of program where we tried to identify how many unhoused youth are in the city of Edmonton. Originally, we thought that there would be about 300 youth who are currently unhoused, but in that research, we found over 3,000. So there's quite a significant gap there, and we didn't even expect how many people we needed to serve. Outside of that, we also identified that 40% of these unhoused people are also part of the queer community. And so just to give a sense of how many people we could serve on a daily basis, we could serve, oh, I'm terrible at math, this is why I'm a social worker, but over 1,200 people on a daily basis in the city of Edmonton are unhoused and part of our queer community. At the CHU program, as previously spoken about, it's all about community, health, empowerment, and wellness. We are a place for people to come to be who they are without any judgment and to find support that they need. At the very least, we are a space for people to come together, to feel represented and find connection. But at the most, we also provide referrals to outside agencies. We provide mentorship, emotional support, guidance. We even take our youth to doctor's appointments, to psychiatrist appointments, and connect them through various different avenues for support. We often work with Alberta Health Services, with Children's Services, pretty much any government organization providing supports, AISH, Alberta Works. We really advocate for our youth. We want to make sure that everyone that comes through our doors feels loved, supported, wanted, and welcomed. Something very similar to this space here today. I do want to thank everyone for welcoming me into this space and for allowing me to speak. It's been quite a healing process personally for me, and I'd love to speak a little bit more. So at CHU, like I spoke, we're in a transition state, and so for the past year, we've had a little bit of a struggle in terms of operations. Firefly Institute, being part of the university, found that the work that CHU does on a daily basis is starting to grow outside of the parameters of a university and what they typically deal with. And so as the concerns were being more, I'm going to say, social agency related than university related, the University of Alberta asked us to step in at Boyle Street to be able to operate the site. And so what that means is that Firefly still controls the finances, they still control the background, the research, and a lot of the community engagement pieces. Whereas at Boyle Street, we operate the actual center and we go out and liaise with the community to try and support people on a better, good, kind, and gentle path, I'll say. We also do partner in this as well with YES, the Youth Empowerment Support Services, as they are one of our front-facing agencies for youth to collaborate. So they're one of our practice guiding agencies. They support us on a practical sense. If we need trainings, if we have youth on their site who really need our services, they'll drive them out to us and make sure that there's no gap in services there. I'm really hopeful with this project. One of our youth, when I first stepped in, I held a circle with them and I asked them what this partnership meant for them as the people we serve. And one of them told me the word hope. Since about October of last year, the building that we were previously in had many, many different struggles. The pipes were bursting, there was mold inside the space. It just wasn't habitable, and so the City of Edmonton was very gracious and gave us a space in the Strathcona High Fields. There's an old community league there, and they're very gracious in giving us a space for us to continue our program in a good way. Yeah. Sorry, just lost my train of thought there. So yeah, pretty much we're just located. If you go down Calgary Trail south, then you'll see us on the right-hand side. There's a giant pride mural on the side of the building. Currently, since we transitioned in October, we're getting our staffing levels reset from there, and we're aiming by the end of August to be opened from Monday till Friday from 12 till 5 daily. Currently, we're operating Tuesdays and Thursdays from 10 till 3 just because of the capacity of our staffing at the moment, but hopefully that won't be an issue soon. Outside of that, yeah, if anyone wants to come out and see our site, please connect with me directly. I will say, though, that one of our biggest struggles that we're currently having right now is having people find us. And so if you look at Instagram, Facebook, any of our social medias, you'll see our new address and location there. But our biggest struggle is having people locate our actual building right now. And so if you come out to our site, you'll see the giant pride mural, but there's nothing saying it's a CHU program. There's nothing showing that the services that we're giving or who we are. And so you folks are getting a little early access, but this upcoming week I'm going to be putting a call out to the community for some support in getting a building sign arranged. If there's anyone that has any connections to local businesses that are able to do that, I do prefer to support local businesses prior to larger scaled. And then any donations are also welcomed there. I do believe that any donations people would like to provide from today or going forward would just connect with the treasurer here. And then it'll be a group donation to us if that's something of interest. But I don't want to be too somber, so I don't want to give too many statistics and be too clinical, I'll say, but I think any support would be such a tremendous help for our youth and to be able to keep us going forward in the future. One of our biggest impacts that really hits home and makes me feel good and fills my passion is being able to prevent some of the social issues we're seeing. And so just to kind of close off today on a little piece of what we do, there's approximately a 60% increased chance for queer youth when they don't have supports in the community in attempting or even thinking of suicide. And so our program is very crucial and life-saving for our youth to be able to get the services they need, the connection they can, and to prevent some of those statistics from becoming a reality. I'll be kind of kicking around for a little bit, so if anyone has any questions or would like some information, even just to come up and say, hey Josh, who are you? Tell me a little bit more. I welcome all of that. Thank you.
Thank you, Josh. I have to say that number kind of blows me away. 1,200 is an awful lot of young folks to be out there not knowing they are loved and valued. So it's great to have an update, and it's great to hear that organizations are starting to work together instead of in isolation, so that the people can be in touch with the organizations that they need to be in touch with. So let's share our strengthening our intentions this morning. We open to the sacredness at the heart of all and to deep love and connection that unites us all. May we be faithful to the vision of building a better world, that there be daily bread to nourish all hunger, that we engage in the work of reconciling our past, forgiving ourselves and others, and experiencing healing in our pursuit of love and justice for all people. May we embrace the support of community in hard times, find the strength to meet each moment, and the wisdom to walk in the light of deep gratitude. For the light of love is with us now and forever. May it be so.
Roads that I could take. I want the one I walk upon to be the choice that love would make. Much can be distracting, much can lead astray. I walk the road I travel on to be where love can lead the way. So before I go, I would like to know, what call would justice make? What path would kindness take? What would a little more wisdom see? What would courage set free? What would compassion say? What might just save the day? These are all one question. What would love do now? What would love do now? Every new decision, whether large or small, can have an impact far beyond what I ever see at all. I can't know the outcome standing at the start, but at the end I hope I find that it was love that moved my heart. So before I go, I'd like to know, what call would justice make? What path would kindness take? What would a little wisdom see? What could courage set free? What would compassion say? What might just save the day? These are all one question. What would love do now? What would love do now? What would love do now?
Well, let's take those questions with us as we blow out the candle, see the light change, and continue to know that we are one of this community that is loved and beloved. So go enjoy, if you can, 30 above weather, and the fact that it is summer in Edmonton.